And we are back. Welcome back to the Premier League prediction series. It is now time for Game Week 35. We have just 4 game weeks to go in the Premier League. And the question we have to ask ourselves is the table now already sorted? Do we already know who's winning the league? Do we know who's finishing in Europe? And do we know who is getting relegated? Or are we going to see some final twists and turns with, like I said, just 4 weeks to go? If you haven't done so already, please do consider dropping a like on this video if you do enjoy my prediction series, and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. We're on the race to 2,000 subscribers before the end of the season, and you could just be the difference if you hit that subscribe button today. But without any further ado, let's get straight into it. A massive Game Week 35, technically a part 1, as there is an extra game for Chelsea later on in the week, but we'll do that when we do my Europa League and Europa Conference League video on Wednesday. Let's get straight into it. Game Week 35, and we're going to start off with the game between West Ham and Liverpool taking place at 12:45, or 12:30 should I say, on Saturday. A game that Virgil van Dijk decided to have a big complaint about after losing to Everton, because Liverpool's record in the 12:30 kickoffs is absolutely horrendous. And to be honest, I agree with Wayne Rooney. Stop being a big baby and just get on with it. West Ham, of course, have not been on a very good run of form recently, and their chances of qualifying for Europe for next season now look to be all but gone. But this is an opportunity for them to capitalise on what has been a bad few weeks for Liverpool. Of course, they did get a win against Atalanta in the second leg, which ended up essentially being a defeat because they lost on aggregate, and they got that win against Fulham. But outside of that, it has been, I think it's 4 defeats in their last 5, like I say, if you do include the Atalanta win as a loss, depending on how you look at it. So Liverpool's form is very much muddied. They can't score a goal to save their life. But the saying is, West Ham are really struggling as well. And it looks like Jared Bowen is still going to be missing for this game. So I think without him, with Liverpool still believing that they can get something out of this season, I am going to go for a 2-1 win to Liverpool. But watch this space. With essentially the title gone for them now, it may just free them up a little bit more to be a bit more expressive. Maybe try out a couple of new things, even though Klopp is leaving. Very bit messy with Liverpool at the moment. I'm going to go for them to win. On to a whole host of 3 o'clock kickoffs taking place this weekend. We start off with Fulham taking on in-form Crystal Palace. And I'll be honest with you, I'll be very surprised if you don't see both Glasner and Mateta picking up Player and Manager of the Month awards respectively from what we have seen from them this month, coming up against the Player of the Month in Muniz from Fulham from last month. So I have to look at the form of these two sides and say Crystal Palace are playing way better than Fulham at the moment. Fulham just aren't picking up results, even though they have been so good over the course of this season, especially at home. They've lost their last 2. Crystal Palace, like I said, have won all of their last 3. So I'm expecting Crystal Palace to get the win here. They're playing some fantastic stuff at the moment, and I'm going to go for 1-0 to Crystal Palace. It could be more, but I sort of look at the form guides of these two sides and say it's going to be tight, but I'm going to have Crystal Palace just edging it. From a game that's probably not going to have many goals to a game that is surely going to have plenty, because it is time for Manchester United once again, this time taking on Burnley. I'm actually away this weekend, so there won't be a reaction to Manchester United-Burnley immediately at full time. There might be one on Sunday, depending on how the game ends up going. I did say that I didn't expect Manchester United to win both of the Sheffield United and Burnley games. We obviously did come out on top in the end against Sheffield United, albeit due to a lucky long shot from Bruno Fernandes. I guess 1 of 20 has to go in eventually. And I look at the Burnley team right now, the way they're playing, with Vincent Kompany obviously desperate to get a result at Old Trafford as a former Manchester City captain. I can't with any certainty say that we are going to win this game. I'd like to think we will. I'd like to think we're going to carry on building momentum towards the FA Cup final. So I'm going to go for a hesitant 3-2 win to Manchester United. But I think Burnley are definitely going to get some goals in this one. It's just whether or not Manchester United can outscore them the other way. That then brings us to Newcastle and Sheffield United. For me, there isn't too much to say about this one. Sheffield United, they're just not good enough defensively. They're conceding goals for fun. Newcastle are a very good attacking team on their day. Yes, they struggled against Crystal Palace the other night, but I'd expect them to put that right at home to the bottom team in the league. I am going to go for 4-0 to Newcastle. And speaking of conceding goals for fun, we then come to Luton Town, who travel to Wolves this weekend. Wolves without a win in their last 5, but Luton, after having the best possible opportunity to get themselves out of the relegation zone, albeit temporarily, with the game against Brentford, ended up conceding 5 goals without a reply until stoppage time. So I now look at this fixture. Yes, Luton Town need a response, but Wolves now have Hwang Hee-chan back. They now have Mateus Cunha back. Two of their three most creative players, if obviously Pedro Neto, of course, are still unavailable. For me, I just don't see Luton getting the result in this one. I think Wolves will see this as a game to put right their poor form recently. And like I say, as much as I'd love to see Luton get the result here, I just don't see it happening. I'm going to go for 3-1 to Wolves. That then brings us to the first of two evening games taking place on Saturday. The 5:30 kickoff sees Everton taking on Brentford off the back of that incredible win in the Merseyside derby, and obviously Brentford off the back of their incredible 5-1 win away at Luton. The important stat to going into this one is that Everton have got clean sheets in their last three consecutive home games now. There is just something about this time of the season with Everton. When they're fighting for their lives, they manage to find that defensive steel at home. We've seen it the last two seasons running. We're seeing it again now. And for me, I actually back that run to continue. I'm going to go for 2-0 to Everton again. They were fantastic against Liverpool. It's going to be a very physical game against what is a very physical Brentford side as well. But I just think they've got the crowd behind them at the moment. It's going to be an evening game as well, which tends to lift the crowd even more under the lights. So for me, it's going to be 4 wins in a row and 4 clean sheets in a row at home for Everton. The late game on Saturday, the 8 o'clock kickoff, sees Aston Villa taking on Chelsea. Chelsea's last two results, 6-0 win, 5-0 defeat. If that doesn't sum up Chelsea's season, I don't really know what does. On the flip side, Aston Villa, of course, are still in the strongest position to get that Champions League spot, knowing that Tottenham will be taking on Arsenal on Sunday as well, gives Villa the opportunity to really ramp up the pressure on Spurs and basically cement themselves in a Champions League spot for next season. I would expect Villa to get the win here, especially with the notion that it looks like Cole Palmer is still going to be out with his illness. So we'll see. If he makes it, maybe Chelsea have more of a chance, but without him, I don't give them any chance at all. I am going to go for a 4-1 win to Aston Villa. That then brings us on to Sunday. We have two games kicking off at 2 o'clock on Sunday. The first of those is Bournemouth and Brighton. Brighton's form, like a few of the other teams at the moment, is really through the floor. No wins in their last 5. Bournemouth, we know how well they're playing at the moment. And to be honest, at home, I now expect Bournemouth to beat Brighton. I just don't see this being a game where Brighton get anything from it. They're constantly having to change their team around due to injuries. They were well beaten by Manchester City last night. And like I say, I just think with the way Bournemouth are playing at the moment, they'll end up getting the win. I think it'll be close. I'm going to give Brighton a goal, but I'm going to go for 2-1 to Bournemouth. Then we have the big one, the North London derby, also taking place at 2 o'clock. Arguably the biggest North London derby of a generation. Arsenal still believing they can win the Premier League title. Tottenham, who at the start of the season, 2 or 3 months in, believed they were going to win the Premier League title, now struggling for a Champions League place. They both have to win. Tottenham must win to keep their chances of Champions League alive. Arsenal must win to put the pressure back on City before the later game. I look at this and I say Arsenal have played a lot of football in the last couple of weeks and Tottenham have played no football at all. Somehow, despite last week, game week 34 being a double game week, Tottenham played no matches at all. So they're going to be a little bit rusty. I think Arsenal are going to be at it. And to be honest, I don't really give Tottenham much chance in this game. The way that Tottenham play is just going to suit Arsenal's wingers down to the ground. And I just think Arsenal are going to come out on top. I'm going to go for 3-1 to Arsenal. Genuinely, I think it could end up being more. But we'll see. It's going to be a fascinating fixture. Can Tottenham get the job done? Let me know down in the comment section below. And then finally, provided Arsenal do pile the pressure on Manchester City, they will be taking on Nottingham Forest in the final game, the main event slot of the weekend, the 4:30 kickoff. Nottingham Forest against Manchester City, the side that claims that all the refereeing decisions in the world are going against them, versus the side that seemingly has all the refereeing decisions going for them, especially again when you look at last night where, let's be honest, the free kick that Foden scored wasn't a foul. Brighton should have had 2 penalties. And City's 4th goal was a handball, and none of those decisions went in favour of Brighton, and all of those went in favour of Man City. So, potentially refereeing drama in this one, but I think regardless, no one really expects Nottingham Forest to get anything from this game. And the way City performed last night against a Brighton side that I think are better than Nottingham Forest, I don't think many people are going to be surprised when I think Manchester City are going to win this one at a canter as well. I'm going to go for 5-0. I think they're going to blow Nottingham Forest away and continue to heap pressure on them in their bid for survival. And that is going to be it for Game Week 35. Like I say, there is one final fixture taking place on Thursday during the week, but we will cover that in one of our European videos, I am sure. But let me know all your thoughts on the 10 weekend fixtures taking place. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. As always, I will be back, like I say, probably Sunday for some sort of reaction to the Manchester United Burnley game. But if not, then I will see you on Monday morning for the return of Champions League predictions as we talk the 2 semi-finals. I will see you there.